Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I'll be going over something that a lot of people have been bringing up to me in various different ways and in forums and all that over the past few days, but arguably has been a problem for the past few months or even years. And that is maybe that there's too much close air support now in War Thunder. And that ground RB, I've heard some people say in a funny way, but of course it's also kind of serious. Ground RB is kind of now air RB in many ways. I mean, why would you want to play ground RB if half the players in it are in planes anyways? But that being said, in this video, I'll be kind of going over what some people consider to be the problem, what some people don't consider to be the problem, and offer some possible solutions at the end that I've read, that I've come up with on my own. You guys know the deal. I just want to make this a relatively, hopefully concise video, something that people can start a conversation with in the comments below. I strongly encourage you guys to watch this video, at least hear me out, and tell me about what you guys think about this in the comments below, because ultimately, I'm sure that Gaijin, that War Thunder, that they've actually seen some things that people have said in forums or on comment sections or in videos, and that they've at least slightly changed their game for. I mean, every now and again, it does happen, so maybe it'll happen this time. But that being said, let's get into it and kind of discuss what the issue is here. Now, this is primarily going to be talking about top tier ground battles, because in mid tier, at least in my opinion, it's still actually pretty reasonable when it comes to close air support. You just have aircraft, and a lot of the time, I mean, it's just older aircraft, right? So it's P-47s, P-51s, you have Typhoons, Tempests, various, I mean, Japanese planes don't really have the best close air support, but you guys get the idea. There's not really something where it's just so crazy that it's uncounterable or that you can be killed by somebody that you don't see. Typically, when it comes to mid-tier battles or low-tier battles, you see death as it hits you. And so in top tier, especially with the introduction of drones, but of course before drones as well, you don't see your enemy. You just die randomly. Anecdotally, I had a match a few days ago where I spawned, and within about 8 to 10 seconds, or literally as long as it took for me to become vulnerable in ground RB, I died because an MQ-1 dropped a Hellfire through the roof of my tank. And I mean, I was just literally started moving a few seconds prior after I spawned. And some people might say, whoa, that's a skill issue. Why didn't you get into an SBAA? Well, I shouldn't be killed immediately once I spawn by somebody who spawned 6,000 meters up in a drone. You know, I mean, of course, that's how I guess War Thunder is now, but it sucks because I can absorb that loss. That tank, I'm not sure what top tier tanks cost, but some people are very aware of repair costs. I'm not very aware of it because I've been blessed to be able to have a fair amount of silver lions. I don't really ever get short on silver lions, thankfully, but a lot of people have to count their silver lions, and some people might say, oh, we'll get good. Well, we want this game to be for everybody, you know, and I don't want this game to just be full of elitists that just say, oh, well, you know, you have to be good to play this game. If you're not that great at this game, but you want to still play it, go ahead, that's fine. But a lot of these people who aren't that great and don't have a lot of silver lions, or they don't buy premium time and thus don't have silver lions, or they don't have premium vehicles, whatever the case may be, they just don't have a lot of silver lions. Now they're being negatively affected by these people who are spawning in at 6,000 meters up, or they're spawning in these premium aircraft, whether they're helicopters or Su-25s or A-10s or whatever it might be. And these people can just be killed from distances unknown, and you have no way to counter them. Ultimately, in War Thunder, I feel that there should always be a counter, but there isn't. You know, in ground RB, a lot of the time are no counters. You cannot do anything except your death. And in mid-tier, like I said, mid-tier ground RB, a lot of the time there is a counter. Low tier because they get close enough to you where you can shoot an MG at them, or you can do this, that, or the other thing. In top tier, aircraft have become so advanced that they can just launch a 50 kilogram or drop a 50 kilogram bomb through the roof of an M1A1 Abrams because they have a ballistics computer, or maybe they have some laser guided munitions, and you don't even know that they're there until it's too late. You know, your tank just blows up out of nowhere, and that's it. You know, it's kaput. In many ways, in top tier ground RB, it's pretty much like they are scissors and you are paper. And that's it. There's no counter at all. Whereas in bottom tier, especially when it comes to using something with an HMG, but even LMGs are usable if you get lucky with a shot. You can at least kind of ward off aircraft. Now, like if aircraft see some sort of an LMG even being fired at them, they won't come towards you, and that's cool. But in top tier, it's like this guy randomly spawns in 5,000-6,000 meters up, and you die because he has a drone that barely cost him over 700 spawn points, and maybe they'll modify that in upcoming patches, but they have drones that just completely obliterate people, and more or less it's like 2 free kills. Or nowadays, Gaijin has pretty much added a lot of these premium aircraft, whether they're helicopters or planes, to be accessories in ground RB. So the Su-25K, don't kid yourself, guys. While a lot of people like to play that in air RB, myself included, I love it. But regardless, it's not there so that people play air RB. Air RB is not nearly as popular as ground RB, even as they're adding all these new planes. Ground RB is still the big kahuna. And so Gaijin is adding so many strike aircraft, so many aircraft with strike capabilities, because that's what sells. Because they're accessories to your ground lineup. And so whether it's a helicopter that just spawns in 5-6 kilometers away from the enemy and can kill people without them even knowing that you're there, whether it's an aircraft that now has laser guided munitions, or whatever the case may be, you no longer have to face your enemy, at least when it comes to top tier battles. I got freaking lasered a few days ago by somebody in like an A4, or maybe it was an Su-25, where they just dropped a laser guided munition right through my tank. And that's fair. I get it. It's cool, whatever. I'm not saying, oh, well, that sucks. They shouldn't be able to do that. Because that's how modern warfare is. But maybe there should be some sort of a check or a balance in regards to what we can do. Because aircraft are getting to the point where it's just, they can exercise their will against ground vehicles. And unless you're in some sort of a good SPAA, you're going to die. You pretty much have to live with the specter of death over your head over people that you cannot see, that you cannot fight against, and that's it. Whereas again, in low tier ground matches, you at least can shoot something at a plane and be at a pretty decent chance of getting a kill. Now, especially when it comes to these just drones, which might be the tipping point, honestly, you can't do anything against them unless you're, again, in an SPAA. Now, I kind of want to bring up this comment that I read on one of my polls regarding the drones and all that recently, and I thought it was funny at first, but I really started thinking about it over time, and somebody said that top tier ground RB is now Call of Duty. Now, I'm not sure if a lot of you guys play Call of Duty now or used to play Call of Duty, but I play Call of Duty Black Ops a ton. I mean, I legitimately had for a while at my peak, I think a 2.12 or 2.14 kill death ratio. And it was phenomenal. I was really good at that game. And so the trick in Call of Duty, at least in my opinion, was to play aggressively. And a lot of people would camp, and I got that. But if you were quicker than campers, then you win. The thing is, in Call of Duty, if you have an LMG, an MG, whatever the case may be, an assault rifle, it doesn't matter. Then you can shoot at the person and they'll take 2, 3, 4 hits, 5, 6, I don't know, however many hits it takes for them to die. In ground RB, you just get somebody who camps and they shoot you once in your ammo and you blow up. And that's how it is. How many times do you get killed by campers in top tier ground RB? Of course, it's a problem throughout every single tier, every BR bracket in War Thunder, but it's really, really big in top tier ground RB. Perhaps it's because of the way that repair costs are. Perhaps it's just because it's the most rewarding system for a lot of people who are otherwise unskilled. But I play very, very aggressively. I cannot stand sitting around waiting for an enemy to fall into my trap. If you hear somebody coming by, of course you're going to sit there. That makes sense. Like, you're moving to cap a base, and then you hear enemies kind of going by on the other side of this wall. Of course you're going to sit there. I mean, who wouldn't? That's a strategic thing or a tactical thing to do. But people just kind of wait until they do that. Then they die eventually after getting, like, I don't know, 800 spawn points. And then they spawn to an aircraft and then they kill you. And so I thought about that comment again, and it is true. Top tier ground is in many ways like Call of Duty. Now, I'm not sure how Call of Duty is nowadays. I played it recently and it seemed like it was a bit more aggressive, but there are still a lot of campers, a lot of people that just kind of drop shot, do whatever. Like, they just fixed these really weird and not realistic strategies, and that's how they win. And it sucks. And just like in Call of Duty, in War Thunder, you have essentially spawn points are more or less going to be like kill streaks. You know, they're more or less kill streak rewards, and you can now spawn into a drone and just drop a Hellfire missile through the roof of somebody's tank because they killed you when you were camping and now you're out for blood. So you can now just become an invisible specter and destroy them. Again, I'm not saying that we should take out close air support at all, because we shouldn't. That's a facet of modern warfare. That's a facet of warfare since aircraft were invented, essentially. I mean, there was some level of close air support going all the way back to World War I, arguably speaking. So it's something that's been perpetual insofar as ever since tanks have been around, aircraft have been around doing some form of ground attack or close air support. So it's always been a thing. Ultimately, maybe we should install some sort of limits or something in War Thunder to make sure that it's not something where people become discouraged. Again, mid-tier, totally fine in my opinion. It's actually a ton of fun. But top tier, there are so many matches, and I'm sure everybody who's played top tier can look at this, that they have people like half your team is left, and then the other half is now all in aircraft, so you're going to lose. Or maybe everybody on the enemy team is in aircraft, and you just die immediately after your spawn. So that said, let's get into some quick solutions. Again, I don't want to make this into a very, very long video. I feel like it's kind of getting close to the end here, which is not too bad. But possible solutions, and again, I read some of these. I came up with some of these on my own. Now, introduce a hard limit of how many planes can be up at a certain time. Now, this could make it really easy for SPAA to destroy aircraft, as they're more or less going to be trickling into battle. And it will limit how many people can, of course, use those aircraft. And a lot of people who buy aircraft like the Su-25K or helicopters or whatever, they're probably going to be really pissed at this. So I'm not really sure if this is a reasonable solution, but possibly, because ultimately, if you say, okay, you can have 2 enemy aircraft or 2 aircraft up per team at a time, or maybe like 2 aircraft and 1 helicopter, like 2 fixed wing and 1 helicopter, and maybe like a team can have 2 SPAA at any given time, maybe that's fair. I'm not sure. Let me know again in the comments below. That wasn't my idea, but that's a solution, a potential solution. Now, second, increase the spawn point cost of aircraft, including drones even once more. So when drones were first introduced, they were 550 spawn points. Now they cost 750. A lot of people don't feel like this is enough. Maybe some people might think 850, 900. I've seen some people say 1200 because they feel that this is essentially 2 free kills. I'm not sure if 1200 is a good idea, but maybe 800, 850, because you have a lot of people who literally just have enough to get it at 750. But then again, people are, I guess, are going to have just enough at 18 or 800. So who knows? But perhaps that will make it a little bit less bad. Another solution, and this one is, again, a little bit iffy. I came up with this one probably around 10 minutes ago. But in order to prevent spawn camping, perhaps maybe put like some sort of an invisible shield over top of your base so that drones can't spawn camp you. You know, like I said, I mean, I just literally spawned in one time, and within about 8 seconds, the moment that I became vulnerable and able to die, I got killed by a drone. And of course, it's going to happen, but it's just, it sucks. You know, and there are so many people out there who just don't have the silver lions to be able to take all these drone hits and all that immediately once they spawn. And so it encourages one death leaving. So why would you just sit there and knowingly be spawn camped because the enemy has like 4 or 5 drones up and 3/4 of your team have left when you could just leave the match? It encourages such a lack of competitiveness, just being killed by all of these vehicles because people don't want to pay the repair costs, because people don't want to just be spawn camped, whatever the case may be. But every single time that War Thunder adds some sort of a new way for aircraft to kill ground vehicles, it really kills competitiveness in ground vehicles. Like I said, in my opinion, mid-tier or even higher BR, but not quite modern vehicles, it's perfection, because you have a competitive nature where you have relatively good SPAA, you have good aircraft, and you have, typically, your tanks will be able to, at least to a point, counter aircraft in a light degree, whether it's an LMG, an HMG, what the case may be, but you can at least see your enemies. But now, when it comes to modern aircraft, and it's just going to get worse from here, as aircraft become more and more advanced, I fear once the Strike Eagle comes to War Thunder, what's going to happen? You will not see death from 50 miles away or from 10 miles away. Especially once longer range AGMs get introduced in the game, forget about it. It's going to suck. Especially once they're targeted towards SPAA vehicles, it's going to suck. So right now, we might be only in the forefront of what's going to become a totally unplayable thing. And some people might say, oh, well, you know, that's a skill issue. Yeah, but, you know, I shouldn't have to spawn to SPAA to make sure that I don't die to somebody who spawns 6 kilometers up. You know, it's just, it sucks. You know, why would I want to do that every single match when, especially there's a lot of people who don't research SPAA for one reason or another. Why should they now be forced to research SPAA and spawn into those immediately. It sucks. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I initially had this video where it was like 20 minutes long, so at least I'm cutting it a little bit here. But again, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I am very interested to see your thoughts and opinions, and I want this to be an active and lively discussion and a well-mannered discussion if possible. But again, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.